My name is Kenji Nakamura, and I'm 41 years old. The morning my colleagues told me no one respected me, we were having breakfast at a conference in Seattle. One of those industry events where people network more than they learn. Where reputation matters more than competence. I was eating alone at a table near the windows. Oatmeal. Black coffee. The kind of breakfast that doesn't draw attention. 3 of my colleagues from the firm walked past. Saw me. Decided to sit down. Not because they wanted to. Because the room was full and my table had empty chairs. Marcus took the seat across from me. VP of Business Development. Loud voice. Firm handshake. The kind of person who treats every conversation like a negotiation he's already winning. Kenji. Didn't see you at the opening session yesterday. I was there. Back row. Ah. He smiled. That track. How so? You're always in the back. Observing. Never really participating. I participate. Do you think so? Marcus stirred sugar into his coffee. When's the last time you spoke at one of these? Presented. Make yourself visible. I don't need to be visible. I do my work. But no one knows you do it. He leaned back. That's your problem. In this industry, perception is reality. If people don't see you working, they don't think you're working. The other 2 colleagues nodded. Karen from marketing. Tom from client relations. Agreement without words. I kept eating my oatmeal. Let them talk. Marcus continued. You've been with the firm for what, 15 years? 16. 16 years. And you're still a senior analyst. Never promoted. Never recognized. You know why? I waited. Because no one respects you. And I don't mean that harshly. I mean it practically. You're good at your job. Everyone knows that. But being good isn't enough. You need people to respect you. To remember you. To think of you when opportunities come up. They don't think of me. Exactly. He pointed at me with his coffee cup. You're invisible. And in this business, invisible means irrelevant. Karen chimed in. It's not personal, Kenji. It's just how things work. You need to be more assertive. More present. Network more. Build relationships. I have relationships. With who? Tom asked. Genuinely curious. I didn't answer. Because the answer was complicated. The answer was people they'd never heard of. People who mattered in ways they didn't understand. Marcus stood up. Finished his coffee. Look, we're just trying to help. You're a nice guy. Smart. But nice and smart don't get you respected. You need to be strategic. Visible. Otherwise, you're just, here. Taking up space. No one even notices you. They left. Took their empty coffee cups. Their certainty. Their unsolicited advice. I finished my oatmeal. Looked out the window at the Seattle skyline. Gray. Overcast. The kind of weather that matches how people feel when they're being told they're invisible. But I wasn't upset. Because Marcus was wrong. Not about me being quiet. That part was true. I was quiet. I did sit in the back. I didn't network loudly or make myself visible in the ways he meant. But people noticed me. The right people. The ones who mattered. And in about 3 hours, Marcus was going to find that out. Because this conference wasn't just any conference. It was being held at the Cascadia Grand Hotel. A property I knew well. Very well. So well that when I walked into the lobby later that morning, everything was going to change. People make assumptions based on what they see. Marcus saw a quiet analyst who never got promoted. Who sat in the back. Who didn't play the visibility game. He assumed that meant I was unsuccessful. Overlooked. Irrelevant. He didn't know the rest of the story. I'd been with the firm for 16 years. But I'd been investing for 25. I started young. 22. Fresh out of college with a finance degree and no job prospects. The market had crashed. Entry-level positions were scarce. I took what I could get, analyst work at a mid-tier investment firm. Boring work. Spreadsheets. Data modeling. The foundation everyone needs but no one wants to do. But I learned. Not just the job. The industry. How money moved. Where it pooled. What created value and what just created noise. And I saved. Aggressively. I lived in a studio apartment. Took the bus. Made coffee at home. Put 30% of every paycheck into investments. Index funds at first. Then individual stocks. Then real estate. My first property was a duplex in Tacoma. I bought it when I was 26. Fixed it up myself. Rented both units. Cash flowed $300 a month after expenses. Small. But it has started. Over the next 15 years, I bought 17 more properties. Small multifamily units mostly. Nothing flashy. Buildings in neighborhoods people were ignoring. Places with good bones and bad reputations. I'd buy low. Renovate carefully. Rent to stable tenants. Hold long term. The cash flow compounded. I reinvested everything. By the time I was 40, my real estate portfolio was generating over $12,000 a month in passive income. More than my salary at the firm. But I kept the job. Not because I needed it. Because I liked the work. Liked the routine. Liked having something to do that wasn't managing properties. Then, 3 years ago, an opportunity came up. The Cascadia Grand Hotel. Historic property in downtown Seattle. Built in 1924. Beautiful bones. But failing. Management problems. Deferred maintenance. Bad reputation. It was on the market for $8 million. Below market value. Most investors passed. Too much work. Too much risk. I saw something else. Potential. Location. The kind of property that could be extraordinary if someone cared enough to do it right. I didn't have $8 million. But I had relationships. Quiet relationships. With private investors. People I'd worked with over the years. People who trusted my judgment. I put together a deal. Small group. 5 investors. $2 million each. I contributed $1 million in cash and took operational control. We bought the property. Spent 18 months renovating. Hired new management. Rebuilt the reputation. 2 years later, the Cascadia Grand was profitable. Occupancy at 85%. 5-star reviews. Awards from hospitality magazines. The kind of turnaround story people write case studies about. But we kept it quiet. No press releases. No self-promotion. Just good work. Steady returns. Happy investors. I remained anonymous to most people. I didn't work there full-time. Just oversaw major decisions. Visited monthly. Stayed involved enough to protect the investment. Stayed distant enough to let the professionals do their jobs. The staff knew me, though. The general manager. The front desk team. The concierge. They knew I was an owner. That I'd saved their jobs. That the hotel existed because I believed in it when no one else did. And today, this conference, was the first time I'd been back since the renovation finished. The first time as a guest instead of an owner doing walkthroughs. The staff was expecting me. I'd sent word ahead. Not because I needed special treatment. Because it was courteous. Because they'd want to prepare. What I didn't expect was for Marcus and the others to be there when I checked in. But that's what happened. The conference broke for lunch. I walked back to the hotel. I needed to drop off some materials in my room. The lobby was busy. Conference attendees everywhere. Networking. Exchanging business cards. Performing success. I walked to the front desk. Waiting for my turn. The lobby was even more beautiful than I remembered. Original marble floors. Restored brass fixtures. Crystal chandeliers we'd found in storage and refurbished. The space felt timeless. Elegant. Exactly what I'd envisioned. The desk clerk saw me. Her face changed. Recognition. Then something like joy. Mr. Nakamura. She smiled. Genuine warmth. Welcome back. We've been expecting you. Thank you, Anna. Good to see you. She typed quickly. I have you in the founder's suite. Top floor. Is that still acceptable? That's perfect. Excellent. She handed me a key card. Real key, not the paper folder. Heavy. Embossed. Your luggage has already been taken up. Is there anything else you need? Just some quiet. Of course. She lowered her voice. Thank you. For everything. We wouldn't be here without you. You're doing the hard work. I'm just an investor. You're more than that. But I'll let you rest. I turned to leave. That's when I saw them. Marcus. Karen. Tom. Standing near the concierge desk. Staring. Marcus walked over. That same confident stride. But his expression was different. Confused. Kenji. What was that about? What about? The desk clerk. She seemed familiar with you. I've stayed here before. She called you Mr. Nakamura. Not just your first name. That's not standard. Maybe she's good at her job. He looked at the key card in my hand. The founder's suite. That's the best room in the hotel. I requested it. Those rooms are like $800 a night. I'm aware. How are you affording that on an analyst's salary? I manage. Karen joined us. She looked skeptical. This doesn't make sense. We're all in standard rooms. The firm booked us standard rooms. How did you get upgraded? I didn't get upgraded. I booked this room. Tom was looking around the lobby now. Noticing things. The staff glancing at me. Not curious. Glances. Respectful ones. A waiter from the restaurant nodded. The concierge smiled. Do you know people here? Tom asked. I know the hotel. That's not what I asked. Before I could answer, the general manager appeared. Coming from his office. He saw me. Walked over directly. Ignoring Marcus and the others. Focused entirely on me. Mr. Nakamura. Welcome back. He extended his hand. I'm so glad you're staying with us. Thank you, Richard. The renovations look excellent. We're very proud of them. Thanks to your vision. He glanced at the others. Acknowledged them briefly. Then back to me. If you need anything during your stay, please let me know directly. I will. Enjoy the founder's suite. The view is spectacular this time of year. He left. Professional. Polished. Leaving Marcus and the others standing there in thick silence. Marcus stared at me. Like I was a puzzle that had suddenly become more complicated. What was that? That was the general manager. I know who he was. Why was he treating you like, he trailed off. Searching for words. Like a VIP. Karen finished. Why does everyone here know you? I told you. I've stayed here before. No one gets treated like that just for staying somewhere before. Tom's voice was sharper. What's going on, Kenji? I shifted my bag. Looked at them. 3 colleagues who'd spent breakfast telling me I was invisible. Who'd said no one respected me. Who'd assumed my quiet meant I was nothing. I own part of this hotel. The words landed. Heavy. Undeniable. Marcus laughed. Not amusement. Disbelief. What? I'm one of the principal investors. We bought this property 3 years ago. Renovated it. I've been involved in operations since the beginning. You own this hotel. Part of it. Along with 4 other investors. Karen shook her head. That's not possible. You're an analyst. You make, what, 80,000 a year? 90. And yes, I'm an analyst. But I also invest. Real estate mostly. I've been doing it for 20 years. Real estate. Tom looked around the lobby again. Like he was seeing it differently. This building must be worth, around 12 million now. We bought it for 8. Put in 2 million in renovations. Current valuation came in at 12.3 last quarter. Marcus ran a hand through his hair. I don't understand. If you own hotels, why are you still working as an analyst? Because I like the work. But you don't need the money. No. I don't need the money. But I like having structure. Colleagues. Something to do that isn't managing properties. The job isn't about money for me. It's about purpose. So this whole time, Karen gestured vaguely at me, you've been sitting in the back of meetings, not networking, just quietly working, while you owned hotels? Hotel. One hotel. And yes. And you never mentioned it. Why would I? It's not relevant to my job. I don't need people at the firm to know. I don't need recognition. I just need to do my work well. Tom looked at Marcus. Then back at me. This morning. At breakfast. We told you no one respected you. I remember. And you said nothing. What was there to say? Your definition of respect is visibility. Mine is different. I don't need people to see me to respect my work. I need my work to be good. That's all. But people do see you. Here. They respect you. Here is different. Here, I've earned respect by doing something that mattered. I saved jobs. Built something valuable. That earns respect. Not networking. Not performing. Actual contribution. Marcus was quiet now. Processing. Recalculating everything he thought he knew about me. About success. About what mattered. Why didn't you defend yourself? At breakfast? Because I don't need to defend myself. Your opinion of me doesn't change what I've built. What I've accomplished. You can think I'm invisible. That's fine. I know the truth. That's enough. Karen looked uncomfortable. I feel like an idiot. Don't. You didn't know. No one knows. That's by design. I don't advertise my investments. I don't need people at work to know I'm successful outside of work. The two things are separate. But they're not separate. Tom's voice was quieter now. You're successful everywhere. You just don't perform it. Correct. He stopped. Smiled slightly. That's actually impressive. Thank you. Marcus extended his hand. I'm sorry. For what I said. About no one respecting you. I was wrong. I shook his hand. Apology accepted. Can I ask, why tell us now? Why not just let us keep thinking that I'm invisible? I considered that. But you would have found out eventually. Once the staff started treating me differently. Seems easier to just explain. Fair enough. He looked around the lobby one more time. This is a beautiful property. Thank you. We worked hard on it. They left. Slowly. Still processing. Still adjusting their understanding of who I was. What I'd built. How wrong their assumptions had been. I took the elevator to the top floor. The founder's suite. Named that because I'd insisted. Not after me. Just after the concept. The idea that someone had founded this. Built this. Cared about this. The room was exactly as I remembered. Floor-to-ceiling windows. View of Elliott Bay. Original woodwork restored to perfection. Space that felt both historic and modern. Comfortable and elegant. I set down my bag and stood at the window. Watched ferries crossing the water. And I thought about respect. About what it meant. About how Marcus measured it, visibility, networking. Performance. About how I measured it, contribution, competence, impact. Neither was wrong exactly. Just different. But I knew which one would let me sleep at night. That evening, there was a conference dinner. Formal event. Ballroom on the hotel's second floor. The one we'd completely renovated. Original plaster ceiling restored. New lighting. Acoustics improved. The room was stunning. I arrived early. Habit. I liked seeing spaces before they filled with people. Liked the quiet. The events manager saw me. Came over. Smiled. Everything looks perfect, Mr. Nakamura. You did excellent work, Sarah. It's your vision. We just executed it. Good execution matters more than good vision. She laughed. You always say that. Because it's true. People started filtering in. Conference attendees. Colleagues from various firms. The energy was different from breakfast. Louder. More performative. Everyone had been networking all day. Collecting business cards. Making impressions. I found a table near the back. Not hiding. Just observing. Comfortable in my usual position. Marcus walked in with a group. Saw me. Excused himself. Came over. Mind if I sit? Go ahead. He sat. Adjusted his tie. We haven't talked since this afternoon. Since you, he gestured vaguely, revealed everything. There's not much more to say. There's a lot more. He leaned forward. I've been thinking about what you said. About respect. About visibility. And I realize, I've been doing it wrong. Wrong how? I've been performing success instead of building it. I've been so focused on making sure people see me, I forgot to actually do work worth seeing. You do good work. Do I? Or do I just talk about work while other people do it? I didn't answer. Because he needed to answer that himself. You're right about something else too. About purpose. I don't actually like what I do. I just like the status. The title. The perception that I'm winning. But I'm not happy. I'm just visible. What would make you happy? I don't know. That's the problem. Then maybe start there. Figure out what you actually want. Not what looks good. What feels good. What you do even if no one saw you doing it. Like you do. Like I try to do. The dinner started. Speeches. Awards. Recognition for people who'd contributed to the industry. Marcus paid attention. Really paid attention. Not performing attention. Actually listening. After dinner, during the reception, several people approached me. Not conference attendees. Hotel staff. Vendors who'd worked on the renovation. Local business owners who'd benefited from the hotel's revival. They thanked me. Shook my hand. Told me stories about what the hotel meant to the neighborhood. To the city. To them personally. Marcus watched. From a distance. Not jealously. Just observing. Seeing respect that had nothing to do with networking. Nothing to do with visibility. Everything to do with impact. Before I left, he found me again. I get it now. What you meant about respect. Yeah. It's not about who knows you. It's about what you've built. What you've contributed. Those people tonight, they respect you because you did something that mattered to them. Not because you told them to respect you. That's most of it. I want that. Not the hotel specifically. But that feeling. Of building something that matters. Then build it. How? Same way I did. Start small. Invest in something you care about. Work quietly. Focus on the work, not the recognition. Let the results speak. That's harder than it sounds. Most worthwhile things are. The conference ended 2 days later. Saturday morning. People checking out. Heading to the airport. Back to their regular lives. I stayed an extra day. Not for the conference. For the hotel. I had a meeting with Richard and the management team. Quarterly review. Numbers. Operations. Future plans. We met in the boardroom. 6th floor. Windows overlooking the sound. The numbers were strong. Occupancy up. Revenue up. Guest satisfaction scores are excellent. You've built something remarkable here, Richard said. Not me. You and the team. We're just maintaining what you created. That's not true. You created the foundation. The vision. We're just honored to execute it. After the meeting, I walked through the hotel. My ritual. Checking in on things. Not micromanaging. Just observing. Making sure the space felt right. The lobby was quieter now. Conference over. Just regular guests. Tourists. Business travelers. People moving through their lives. Anna was at the front desk. She waved. I waved back. Everything okay, Mr. Nakamura? Everything's perfect. Good. She smiled. We're so grateful. All of us. For what you did. For believing in this place when no one else did. You made it worth believing in. I checked out Monday morning. Early flight back to Portland. Back to my regular life. Back to my analyst job that paid $90,000 a year but didn't define me. As I was leaving, Marcus appeared in the lobby. Coffee in hand. He'd stayed the extra days too. For different reasons. Heading out. Yeah. Work tomorrow. Back to being invisible. I smiled. Back to being effective. That's better, isn't it? Much better. He extended his hand. Thank you. For showing me there's another way. I don't know if I can do it. But at least now I know it exists. You can do it. Just start. I will. We shook hands. He left. I left. 2 people going back to different versions of success. But I thought about him. About whether he'd really change. Whether seeing my quiet success would inspire him to build his own. Or whether he'd slip back into old patterns. Visibility. Performance. The exhausting work of looking successful. I hoped he'd change. But I couldn't do it for him. He had to want it. Had to choose it. Had to do the unglamorous work of building something real instead of something visible. That was the hardest part. Not investing. Not the renovations. The choosing. Choosing substance over appearance. Impact over recognition. Effectiveness over visibility. I'd been choosing that for 20 years. And I'd keep choosing it. Because the alternative, performing for people who didn't really know me, seeking validation from people whose opinions didn't matter, that was exhausting. That was empty. This was full. This was real. This was enough. 6 months after the conference, Marcus called me. Not for work. Personal call. Kenji. It's Marcus. Hey. How are you? Good. Really good, actually. I wanted to tell you, I did it. I started investing. Yeah. Small stuff. Rental property in Vancouver. Old house. Needs work. But I'm doing it myself. Learning. It's hard. But it feels real. Like I'm building something that matters. That's excellent, Marcus. I wouldn't have done it without seeing what you built. Without understanding there was another path. I'm glad it helped. It did. More than you know. He paused. I also wanted to apologize again. For breakfast that morning. For saying no one respected you. I was projecting. I was the one worried about respect. About being seen. You never needed that. Water under the bridge. Still. I'm sorry. Apology accepted. Again. We talked for a few more minutes. About his property. About the work. About how different it felt to build something quietly instead of performing success loudly. After we hung up, I sat at my desk. My small desk in my small office at the firm. Still an analyst. Still quiet. Still sitting in the back of meetings. But I wasn't invisible. I'd never been invisible. Just selective about who saw me. About who I let into the real work of my life. The people who mattered saw me. The hotel staff. My tenants. My investors. The people whose lives I'd touched through quiet, consistent contribution. That was enough. They said no one respects you. They mocked my reputation. No one notices you, they laughed. I nodded politely. Because arguing would have changed nothing. Because their definition of respect was so different from mine that explaining seemed pointless. Later, at the hotel, staff bowed to me. Not literally. But the respect was there. In their greetings. In their gratitude. In the way they treated me as someone who'd mattered. Who'd saved their jobs. Who'd built something beautiful. Their laughter stopped mid-breath. Eyes went wide. As they realized the quiet analyst they dismissed was the owner they'd been expecting. The investor who'd believed in the hotel when no one else did. The person who'd built something undeniable while they were busy performing. That moment wasn't a victory. It was a revelation. For them. Not for me. I already knew who I was. What I'd built. What mattered. I didn't need them to know. But I didn't mind them finding out either. Because the truth has a way of revealing itself. Quietly. Undeniably. In lobbies and boardrooms and quarterly reports. In staff who remember. In properties that thrive. In work that speaks louder than any introduction ever could. I built that. Not for recognition. For purpose. For impact. For the quiet satisfaction of knowing I did something that mattered. And that respect, the kind you earn through decades of consistent contribution, that respect doesn't need to announce itself. It just exists. Solid. Undeniable. Real. That's the only kind worth having.